Hey, what's going on everybody? Boilon here and welcome back to another video on Marvel Strike Force. Today, what we're going to be talking about is Project Pegasus. So, you guys may know that this is the brand new tech raid team that has come out for patch 7.4. That's the number we're on now, I think. And so I want to take a look at this team in its entirety. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at a stats table. Now, this is something that I used to do for other teams. It's been a little while. I think I didn't do it. The last couple of teams I didn't do. I think the last team I did this for was Infestation. The reason why I do these things is so that we can kind of figure out who the best character on the team is and also where they might be lacking a little bit. Because I heard somewhere out there that Project Pegasus may be getting a rework. Maybe some of their stats are going to get bumps. Maybe some of their kits are going to get changed before they actually get released. That's just what I've heard, that they're maybe not up to snuff. Is that a surprise when we had like 3 reworks for Rebirth? Maybe not. So we're going to get into that as well. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Oh god, I didn't get it. I didn't get to the scene switch fast enough. Okay, so I wanted to bring up who's Project Pegasus? Who's Pegasus? There we go. They're just Pegasus. I don't know. Why did I say Project Pegasus? Well, it doesn't matter. Anyways, so these are the 5 characters for Pegasus for those who have been living under a rock. Kestrel, Rescue, 2 older characters. Kestrel in a great position now because obviously in order to have God Apocalypse and Big Apocalypse and whatever, you need a G17, up to a G17 Kestrel. I went and picked up that 7 red for Kestrel. I was like, okay, I'm going to use her some more. Might as well do it. She's a G17. She's probably going to come up to G18 for me in Cosmic, so that's a no-brainer right now. Now, as far as Rescue goes, this is where I had her at previously from Power Armor. Believe it or not, I actually did a Rescue up to 70. So, yeah, I have a ways to go. I'm not going to go super far with Rescue, though. I probably will end up leaving her at, like, 85. My guess is G15, maybe 16, we'll see. And then obviously we have the 3 newer characters. And I did a comment on that I like, currently anyways, they're sitting at 45 shards for Iron Man Infinity War, Ironheart, and Darkhawk. Now, I don't know in which order they're going to be released, but I imagine that one of them is going to be a campaign event, one of them is going to be a Blitz release of some degree, a Blitz milestone of some degree, and an arena release in the same vein as Ghost Rider and Loki team. Probably. That's my predictions. We'll see if that's right because Tigra is the month-long for October, so it's not going to be that. And I think all of these characters are going to be released before the end of the month because that's basically Juggernaut zombie territory. So, anyways, without further ado, let's jump on over to the stats table. We're going to be taking a look at some of the characters, looking at all the characters. We're going to be looking at them one by one. And ironically, some of the better ones are up front. And that's what worries me a little bit. Now, for the purposes of this video and this table chart, for those of you who are new to this, this is going to be based on level 9. That should be level 95, I think. But yeah, I think it's actually level 95. Sorry, not 90. No, maybe it is level 90, actually. I think it is level 90. My bad. Sorry, the reason why I do this is because I want them kind of... And I realize that 7 yellow, 5 red is not what you're going to have the new characters at. The reason why I do this is so we can take a look at some of the character stats for some of the older ones and why I do that. Blue ISO 4, not 5. 4 is kind of the new standard and what you're going to need for raids going forward. Not going to be surprised if Incursion 2 is honestly just pegged at Blue 4 for entry. Gear Tier 16... Stark Tech 25% and self passives only. So it's not going to include extensions of the passive, of the team passive to the other characters. It's just what they have themselves. So I have in the notes, as you can see here for Kestrel, where they do give stats to other characters. So where it might look a little bit lower, they will get a bit of a bump. That being said, I want to start with Kestrel here. And under the ratings column, that's basically where they are in terms of the overall roster. So where do they fit? Top whatever character, and that's where they fit there. So Kestrel has some really good stat ratings across the board with the new stat reworks, which is really great. She was a really good character for a very long time. She kind of fell out of the power creep a little bit. I think that her stats were kind of falling for even the last 6 to 9 months, honestly, because it wasn't as high as some of the newer characters, but this kind of brings it back up to where it needs to be. And she has great stats right across the board, pretty much in a top 40, 50 capacity in every single stat. She has actually pretty good armor now, and the fact that she gets all these buffs like on spawn, even as a standalone character, really, really great. So yeah, no complaints about Kestrel. Honestly, she's going to be a character that you're going to want to take to probably to the moon, honestly. If you're going to be taking her to Dark Dimension 6, that's a good choice there. She's split in skill and tech gear, which is amazing. You do need to make sure you have that shield tech, of course, for the unique, but otherwise her stats are very, very solid. And we're gonna do a Boilon rating for all the characters at the end, but I think you kind of know where this is getting at just to start things off. Now, let's move on over to Rescue, the second rework character. Surprisingly, her stats are pretty good for being Rescue, who was honestly a load of crap before this, and I was shocked to see that her values are largely green. And what I mean by green is like the shaded green, which is pretty good, I would say. So she's in the top 30-ish for health, which is great. Now, she is the support character, and she does barrier based on her max health and things like that, so it's kind of important. Damage, not super important with Rescue. She doesn't really have any attack moves other than her basics, so that's not really important there. Armor is 19, which is great. Focus, not super great, but I don't think you really need it. She's got like, what is it, a slow and a defense down or something like that on her basic on top now, and her resistance is 29. Her speed is... So outside of Kestrel, the speed for this Pegasus team is not great, and I'm wondering if this is something that's going to be addressed in the supposed potential reworks, and why also outside of raids, they're just going to get crushed. They're going to get crushed by, like, Icarus, by Eternals, because we know how, like, Eternals basically chews up anyone that's slow or that's not fast enough to overcome them, because and don't have safeguard, and so Icarus is just going to chew these guys up for breakfast, is what I think, and as they sit right now. Now, granted, they are a raid team. I'm just saying that, they're not going to be very good, I don't think, in other game modes. That's just my opinions. Rescue does give a 15% HP passive to the team. Now, I think this is too low. Almost every other team, Rebirth, Invaders, and Bifrost, I'm almost sure that they have at least a 50% health passive total, at least in raids. Some of them are like a half and half, where they get half the stats outside of raids, and then the rest of it in raids. That's quite common, and some of that's actually in the Pegasus passives as well. So I think that Rescue needs more, and they're too reliant on the barrier mechanic that Rescue and the other characters give out. Actually, I don't know the entire kits, I'll be honest, but I know what they do, and I know what they don't do. And they're very reliant on barrier from Rescue, and that's a bit of a problem. Also, just to recap, Kestrel does give 30% focus and resistance to the rest of the team, outside, not herself, but to everyone else. So just to let people aware. Now, the third character, which is the first character we're going to be talking about that's new, is going to be Iron Man Infinity War. Now, he requires osmium, so if you're going to be building him up fairly bit, that was weird English, a fair bit, then you need to be, cognizant that he is osmium, and other characters are as well. And his stats, at least in the health and damage category, is very good. His damage stat is number 3. He also has the damage passive, so this is not super surprising. Whenever there's a damage passive character, they tend to be in the top 10, especially as newer characters, because they're just power crept that way. So Iron Man is very good. He's not squishy, surprisingly, for a brawler character and for a damage character. So that's good there. The rest of his stats, though, suck. Armor, it is what it is, I guess, there, but focus, resistance, and speed, flat garbage. He's well below average. Most of these characters are well below average, and I do not like this on their stats. Now, yes, they're going to get a little bit of a bump from Kestrel, but other raid teams were in a much better position at this point before the buffs, and so I am a little bit concerned that this is just not enough for Iron Man. He does the damage thing well, but is he going to survive well in the raids? I guess he's got the health to back it up, and so you're going to want some stars on Iron Man. I think he's going to be the one that you're going to want that on. I think he's going to be crazy, because I know his ult does additional piercing damage. If you have Kestrel on the field, it's AoE. Iron Man's going to be really strong. He also has a little bit more HP passive, so I admit what I just said about Rescue, about 15%. There is 30% more on Iron Man, so that is 45%. Okay, so it's maybe it's okay. But yeah, they also give 30% more damage, not HP, but damage in raids. So that's what I mean, is that he gives 30% to the team outside of raids, and then 60% damage in raids. So from the damage perspective, probably not going to be a big deal. So that's really nice there. Darkhawk, on the other hand, he's a lot more mediocre in the stats, and this one's disappointing a bit as well, I think. Now, granted, yes, they're going to get some buffs from the passes, but I just think this is a bad place to start at for a new character. So Darkhawk sitting in it, I wouldn't call him a glass cannon, but yes, he is the blaster character, so he's expected to have less hit points. His damage is 50-ish, which is okay, I guess. His armor is a little bit better, and his focus and resistance is pretty garbage, and his speed is 107, exactly the same as Iron Man. I don't like it when characters have the exact same speed value. This kind of bothers me. 107, they both have that. Who's going to go first? As far as I could tell in the kits, that there isn't specifically ways that, like, I don't think that they go ahead of each other in terms of, like, changing this in raids. So I don't like it when people just in general have the same speed value. So that kind of bothers me. Now, his passive does give crit chance and crit damage to the team, and then crit damage in raids and crit chance outside of raids. So this is what it is there. Another damage character. Ironheart Mark II is the controller. I believe she also gives immunity to the team on her kit as well when she does her skills. So that's something. We're going to talk about that in a minute here. Now, her stats, aside from armor, are also not that great. Now, again, in the health category, maybe I don't expect it to be that high. I'm not surprised it's that low for a controller character. Honestly, a lot of controller characters in Marvel Strike Force are very powerful, so I was a little bit surprised to see that her stat was this low. Her focus is a little bit better, and her resistance is also okay, I guess. Sorry, resistance is terrible. Focus is okay. And once again, speed 116, which is just behind the one... sorry, no, it's ahead of these guys. I was thinking of the wrong value. My bad, sorry. 116, so it is faster. So we're going to go with Ironheart before Iron Man and Darkhawk. She also gives 30% armor to the team and 30% more in rate. So armor, it's fine. Her armor is actually really good. That's not a big problem. Everyone's focus and resistance is not super great, and Kestrel's the only one. I'm hoping that 30% is like enough for them to do what they need to do, especially at 3 and 4 stars. One big issue that I have with this team overall, and let's do the ranking before I do my major issue. So obviously, I think you guys know where this is headed. 1 for Kestrel, 2 for Iron Man. Oh, I don't know why I did that. I do it over here too. Number 2. 3 is actually going to go, believe it or not, to Rescue. 4th is going to go to Ironheart. And 5 is going to go to Darkhawk. That's just my gut feeling based on their stats and what I know of their kit so far. I think that Iron Man Infinity War is going to be really good. I think there's some future potential because he's got some weird call-outs to Thor in Infinity War. Maybe that's a sign of things in the future, so you might want to invest a little bit more and get dividends out of Iron Man. And I think Kestrel obviously should be built to tier 18 for Dark Dimension 6. Now, my biggest problem with this team, though, which is what I wanted to talk about, they don't have Safeguard. They do not have Safeguard anywhere in their kit. Now, with Ironheart, they do have immunity. They do spawn with, like, defense up, deflex, I think, and they get barrier as a result of rescue. But they don't have Safeguard. In every other raid team, Rebirth, Invaders, and Bifrost, all 3 of them have Safeguard in their kit. Safeguard and immunity, particularly combined, makes it really important to be able to sim nodes properly. I think that when you don't have that mechanic, I think it makes it really hard in order to actually get things done. And I'm concerned of the simming viability of this team, which is what everyone expects, especially for new teams, to kind of really power creep the crap out of these nodes and to be able to run that. A lot of that could be the Scourge-related problems that actually exist on these nodes itself, which kind of, again, screw around with barrier. That was the whole reason why Bionic Avengers were not good, right? Because we couldn't really use barrier very well on these nodes. I also want to talk about the actual enemies on these nodes that actually have a lot of ways to either flip, clear buffs, things like that, that Safeguard would prevent that they don't have. Emma Frost is just one character there. We have Gambit if he gets to his ult. We have Kate Bishop's special, which is right out of the gate, honestly. And then even on the second wave, we have Emma Frost again. So again, lots of ways to clear buffs that would be prevented if we had a Safeguard on this team. And I think that's what they need the most. I haven't mastered the kit in its entirety, but when I look for a solid raid team, something that I've noticed on the other teams is Safeguard. And it doesn't have to be spawn Safeguard, but something that is available on turn 1 that you can kind of do pretty early on. I think that's pretty important as well. Bifrost had a way to get Safeguard with Teen Loki that if there was enemies that were hero cosmic characters on their turn, it would give everyone on the Bifrost team Safeguard, and those characters existed on the Mystic nodes. Now, for the other tech nodes, that was Tech Node 1. Tech Node 2, I believe, has a Baron Zemo if we scroll down. So that's a little bit of an issue. On spawn, he's probably going to go first, actually, based on the speed of the other characters, and then he's going to clear a bunch of those spawn buffs. So, because of not having Safeguard and Baron Zemo being there, I'm very concerned about the viability of this team right there, just from Baron Zemo. It's a very old character, but they're stacked on the raids, obviously. And then on the Tech Boss node, I mean, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't say that directly kind of screw them in this node per se. But once again, there's a lot of actually not a lot of things that are going to clear, or sorry, flip buffs. But again, maybe the boss node will be okay. I don't think that the other two nodes are going to be very good. And yeah, Safeguard has just been so integral to the Incursion raid, just the raids in general since Rebirth came out, that I just don't see it working without that. And I think that's maybe my #1 complaint, that they don't have Safeguard. But I'm also concerned that obviously Barrier won't work in Incursion 1. Maybe it will work in Incursion 2. But I don't know, if in a month's time when the full team's out, if we're actually going to be able to sim the technos like we're expecting. And so obviously there's a big concern here, and it's been a concern from what I understand from other content creators that have talked about this, and maybe this is being pushed on the Envoy side with Scopely. I guess we'll find out, but I don't know if I'm very skeptical. I'm leading with skepticism on this team, which is unusual for a raid team. Normally I'm all in. I'm actually going to wait until we see either word that things are going to change, things have been tested, whether or not they've been approved fit for purpose, that they can actually do what they're supposed to do. Until then, I will, I guess, wait, unlock the characters, and I'll wait for someone else to build it and tell me it's okay. And once that happens, then I'll go in on it, because obviously it's a raid team and we need it. And if it's not fit for purpose, I know that they're going to take it back to the drawing board and probably try to rework it 3 times like they did for Rebirth. So I guess I'm not concerned about the long-term nature of this team, because whether or not it's working right now, it doesn't matter, because they'll eventually go back and fix it, because that's what they did with Rebirth, and I don't know if they did it with any of the other teams, but I know they did it a million times for them. So I guess we'll wait and see. But the takeaway from this video, Kestrel's amazing. Make sure that you upgrade her. She is MVP in the team, outside the team. I think she's going to be great, and you should have access to a lot of stars for her at this point anyways, because she's been around for a while. Make sure you get the 7 red star if you can, because she's going to be really good. So that's the end of the video, everyone, and until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Boilon, signing out.